Welcome to PrepAquatics.com. I am Skyler King. As always, you can email me, Skyler@PrepAquatics.com. You can follow me on Twitter @SkylerPrep. Talking sectional preview here as we get into the last 2 weeks of the girls' swim season. It's really flown by. Talk a little bit about conferences this past weekend. Nothing really special coming out of the CSL meet that I went to. New Trier was obviously far and away the best team there and really dominated, won 2ing, a lot of relays and individual races for that matter. But nothing out of their stars that we really haven't seen before time-wise, and we'll all wait to see what their lineup officially looks like. That's sort of the unfortunate news this evening, is that on Thursday night around 7 o'clock when I'm taping this, there's really been no posting on Meet Mobile of what some of these top swimmers that are potentially, have the potential, I should say, to swim multiple things, or teams that could potentially go multiple relays or not. We really don't have any of that information, which is a bummer, but we'll all wait with bated breath to see that on Saturday morning when it does start getting posted. Stevenson clearly stole the show on Saturday with their relays. Right off the bat, 144, 146 in the medley. In the 400 relay, they didn't have their best 4-all relay. They added up to 329 though, and their 200 relay went the fastest time of the year as well, 36, I believe. I obviously don't know the situation. I don't know how many suits were involved in all this. I can tell you at the CSL South meet, essentially the entire meet was suited except for New Trier's sectional team. And so if these were all suited times, I don't know why Stevenson was suited for this a week out of sectionals. Because to me, these would have all been times that I would have thought would have put them in a good spot if they did them at the sectional. And now, are they going to go even faster at the sectional? I don't know. Because they had a really good state meet last year, and I haven't had the time to go back and do the research to see how fast they went at conference. But when I saw these results, my eyes bulged. I can't believe Stevenson was really that close to being this fast last year. Because I just feel like I remember it. It's so notable that they went this fast. But regardless, I don't think you can count Stevenson out from a trophy at this point. And if they drop significant time from what they just did in these 3 relays, they're going to be in contention to win 3 relays. That's how good these times are for a non-taper meet. I wanted to talk this week. I spent a lot of time doing this exercise and thought everyone would kind of find it interesting as parents and coaches and whomever generally spend some time in the next week and a half analyzing sectional results. And so what I did was I analyzed 5 years with the sectional results, really going back 6 years, because I skipped the year that a state meet wasn't held, because a lot of kids didn't even participate. And what I did was I got a 5-year average of the times it took to be top 6 and top 12 after sectionals and how different it was at state. And it was pretty interesting. I'll give you the last year, 2021, and then what the 5-year average is in these categories. So at the sectional, and so this would be something you could really compare the times this Saturday to. The top 6 cutoff, the 6th place time after the sectional in the medley relay was 144.53. In the 200 was 152.13. In the IM was 204.27. In the 50 it was 23.58. In the fly it was 56.04. In the 100 it was 51.07. In the 500 it was 457.10. In the relay, it was 136.14. In the back, it was 56.46. In the breast, 103.83. And in the last relay, 330.44. And then at state, it was, in many cases, about the same, which goes to show you, and I'll give you the times here, that there's enough kids that add time at state from the section that it kind of compensates back and forth for the kids that may have gone slower at sectionals but dropped bigger. Because the top 6 at state was 144.72, that was 19/100 slower than the top 6 at sectional in the medley. 150.8, which was 1.3 seconds faster in the 200. 203.99, which was 0.28 faster in the IM. 23.47, which was 11/100 faster. 55.36, which is about 7/10 faster in the fly. 51.07, exactly the same time in the 100 free. In the 500, 4:59.13, about 2 seconds slower than the sectional time. 1:35.31, which is 6/10 faster in the free relay. 56.19 in the back, which is about 3/10 faster than the sectionals. 103.43, which is exactly 4/10 faster in the breast. And then 3:28.06, which is over 2 seconds faster in the 400 relay. But the average drop per 100, coaches, for the most part, when they're calculating taper average, do it by the 100. How many seconds per 100 are you dropping? And on average, what that all accumulates to is about a 10th per 100. The 6th place time drops from sectionals to state. So basically, if you are the 6th seed after the sectional, if it's like last year, you've only got to drop a 10th per 100, or like if it's the 50, basically 0.05 you have to drop to make top 6 on average. For the top 12, it's 2/10 per 100. And so obviously the top 12 times are a little slower. For sectionals, we'll rattle them off here a little quicker. In the medley, 145.7 at sectionals, 146.6 at state, 53.1 in the 200, 52.4 at state, 206.0 in the IM, 205.1 at state, 23.8 in the 50, 23.6 at state, 56.6 in the fly, 56.2 at state, 56.1 in the 100, 51.9 at state, 503.8 in the 5, 503.0 at state, 136.7 in the relay, 136.0 at state, 57.0 in the backstroke, 56.9 at state, 104.7 in the breast, 104.1 at state, and 332.9 at sectionals, 332.0 at state. And then the kind of placing that corresponds to this is I have the swimmers, the actual swimmers that qualified at the sectional, top 6 and then top 12, how many of them held top 6 or top 12 from sectionals to state? And it was actually quite a few more than I thought it would be. It was 5 in the medley. I'll give you both at the same time. In the medley was 5 and 11, 5 and 10 in the 200, 5 and 9 in the IM, 4 and 9 in the 50, 4 and 9 in the fly, 5 and 10 in the 100, 4 and 9 in the 500, 4 and 10 in the relay, 5 and 8 in the backstroke, 4 and 10 in the breast, 4 and 10 in the last relay. So for the year, on average, of the girls who after the sectional were seeded 1 through 6 in each individual race, on average, 4.45 of them were still top 6 at state. And 9.54 of the top 12 remained top 12 at state. And then this doesn't have a specific correlation to these times. I just thought it was an interesting study to do. I did the champion, what the eventual state champion was seeded after the sectional. And quickly, starting with the medley, second, first, fourth, second, first, second, 13th, for a yearly average of 2.64. So basically, the average state champion is in the top 3 after the sectional in the race they're going to be the eventual champion in. And so that was more jarring than I thought it would be. Obviously, if you have a one person that's specifically dominant during a stretch of time, you're going to see that more and more often. Now, last year, and some of this could be because we were still coming off COVID, compared to the 5-year average, was way less volatile. And so we'll have to see as time goes on if these results extrapolate out further. But in the 5-year average, we talked about last year, 4.45 and 9.54 for the swimmers in the top 6 and 12 that held their positions in the top 6 and 12 respectively. Over that 5-year period, which again goes back 6 years, but includes last year's numbers. On average, 3.69 of the top 6 held, and 8.96 of the top 12. So about half a swimmer less in the top 12, and almost a full swimmer less in the top 6 held their spot. And on average, the champ after sectionals was 3.3 as their seed, as opposed to 2.64. And as you might suspect, the top 6 and 12 were also more volatile. And it was interesting because the state meet that was 6 years ago, other than the 500 free, was really far worse than the other 4 meets we were talking about. However, even including that, the times for top 6 and top 12 were generally faster in the 5-year average than they were last year. And the other interesting thing, which to me leads you back to the COVID situation and probably not as many kids being in as good a shape from doing a lot of club swimming, just because of the pool time and people not wanting to go into enclosed spaces with big groups of people. The 5-year average of time drop from 6th place at sectionals to 6th place at state is 0.46, almost 5 times more of a drop than what it was last year, which to me says that in past years, before last year, your kids that were going to eventually be top 6 probably went a little slower at the sectional because they were so confident in the way they've been swimming, and were able to save their drop more for state. And so that's why that number is so much bigger, even though it still looks like a relatively small number, basically half a second per 100. But in comparison to a 10th per 100, still a big number. Top 12, not nearly as volatile, 0.27 as opposed to a flat 0.2 in the average drop from sectionals to state for 12th. And so time will tell if this is just a new world order where the top kids are just going to suit and rest more for the sectional than they have in the past, or if this was just kind of a one-year blip where there wasn't that much improvement from sectionals to state because of the aftermath of the pandemic. But this was a really fascinating thing for me to do, and it is something that's definitely going to shape the way I do my predictions this next week for state, because a lot of times I'm looking for more teams or more swimmers outside that top 12 picture to make a move. But now I've actually got a numeric figure for how many of those teams I should actually be looking for to move up into the top 6 or into the top 12 and out based on history. And so, again, this took a lot of time. Hopefully, a lot of you found it interesting and can use it yourselves as you're trying to evaluate. Again, maybe not as much the times. Historically, as years go by, things get a little faster. That wasn't the case last year, but again, we were just coming off the pandemic. We'll see if there's a bit of a bounce back. I still think there's going to be a lot of races that are pretty weak. And so that's why the 5-year average, while interesting and while faster than last year's state meet in many cases, isn't necessarily a guarantee of what you can go to get in. 144.3 in the medley is that average for 6th place, and that doesn't mean if you go 144.33 this year that you're guaranteed to be top 6, but you're going to be damn close, because rarely do you see a huge fluctuation in 1 year, especially in a relay. Relays are much more consistent because you don't have, it's really hard for that many schools to all have 4 kids that are really exceptional for a relay. Whereas an individual race, there can be a lot more outliers. Like again, that year 6 years ago was basically the best year for the 500 free in this study, but basically the worst year in the study for everything else. And so that just shows you just had exceptional 500 free talent in the state at that time, and it was an outlier. But that exceptional 500 free talent didn't impact all the other races. It was just a one-off. Obviously, if you had exceptional 50 or 100 freestylers in a given year, you might say that could affect the top 6 and top 12 of the relays if they go to the right schools. That's the other thing too. Because if you had 6 Ryan Helds that went to Springfield and Byron and these schools that don't have really good programs, they could be swimming relays with 3 other kids that aren't that good. And it's just, it's a perfect storm when something like that happens, because you got to have the elite talents also be at big programs who can give them strong supporting casts for those relays. And when you get that perfect storm, that's when you get some of these really dominant mature teams that we had in the past on both the boys and girls side. Anyway, I'm going to be in Mattia Valley. It's the one closest to home for me. It gives me an opportunity to get back earlier and start breaking down all this data. I'm looking forward to Oswego and Rosary and what they look like, to see if they look like they have any dark horse trophy contention in them. But for those of you going to the other sectionals, again, I think if you're going to St. Charles, you need to take a look at what Stavropoulos and Boo are swimming, not just individually, but also what relays. If you're at the Ignatius sectional, I think you need to check before the meet starts what Julietta Tracy's swimming, because again, I still think she's going to swim the IM, but if she swims the 200, it wouldn't be the biggest surprise in the world, but it would certainly make an impact on what those events are going to look like come state meet weekend. And those are probably the top couple spots that I'm looking for a potential change in. Certainly at Hinsdale Central, which is hosting their first sectional in I don't know, certainly in my remembrance, and which is kind of a quirk because the state meet host isn't supposed to be eligible to host a sectional, but a couple other schools, the facility fell through, and so it should be a tremendously fast meet, and we should see a lot of pool records. But what's Kid Schneider going to be swimming? And by that it's more, is she in 3 relays? Or is she in a second individual race? If she's in a second individual race, is it the 100 free? Is it the butterfly? I think it's reasonable to think she can swim the backstroke, but the backstroke's also one of the least convenient races to swim because you're right in the mix of 2 free relays. So you're going to swim one of them. As a backstroker, if not both. Hinsdale assuredly is going for the medley, and so you would think probably not the 200 relay, but then the 400 relay in that case. Can Hinsdale, St. Charles North, if they do put their stars in 2 individual races, can they find a way to score a 3rd relay? That would be certainly a big difference maker for them. And at Stevenson, I think you got to be on the watch of, are they going to qualify everybody? And I don't just mean everybody, I mean every entry. 2 in every individual race, all 3 relays. I think that's very possible for Stevenson to pull off. It doesn't happen very often. And so if you're there, look out for the perfect Stevenson meet, and then they'll really roll into state with a ton of confidence. And again, if you're not the superstars of superstars, qualifying for state's just a lottery ticket, and if you have more lottery tickets, that's never going to be a bad thing. As always, you can email me, skyler@prepaquatics.com. You can follow me on Twitter @SkylerPrep. We'll be back this next week with a bunch of stuff. Obviously, the predictions, the meet program preview. Do my best to get that out there Monday or Tuesday so everyone can see what lane everyone will likely be in. And then by Wednesday, I should have the predictions out and hopefully posting the state preview video as well. Good luck to everyone this weekend. Hope everyone has fun, and we'll see you next week talking state meet preview here at prepaquatics.com.